Judiciaries, political institutions, video 3, topic 5. All right, so judiciaries, I will tell you that the judicial branch, even in the AP6 that we study, is relatively weak. But in each different country that we study, the judicial branch is going to take different forms. But in general, you need to remember that the judicial branch is there to interpret the application of laws, to make sure that the people, the government officials that are carrying out the law and writing the law, are doing so in a way that protects the public good, protects people's liberties, protects their freedoms. The judicial branch is there to adjudicate public disputes and to enforce criminal law, to punish people when they've broken the law. Their judicial branch is supposed to follow the idea of rule of law or constitutionalism, that the government is operating under rules and a structure that we, the people, have been familiar with and that we understand. It's all about transparency and the judicial branch keeping the government accountable, transparent, and punishing people who have violated other people's rights. Okay, so rule of law, the idea of constitutionalism, that the laws are there, they're written down, the judicial branch interprets them and their meaning and makes sure that the actions of the government follow the rule of law. The judicial branches that we study are going to vary significantly from country to country. So in the discussion question, contrast the role of the courts in an authoritarian regime to a democratic regime. Okay, courts in an authoritarian regime really rarely have any independence. Sometimes they're disbanded by the leader, or they're just puppets of the regime. However, in a democratic regime, the courts are going to be able to rule independently, and they're going to be neutral, as one of the characteristics of democracy that we went over the other day. Okay. In a democratic regime, courts are going to be able to rule on the constitutionality of laws or compare laws to or previous court decisions, and the courts are going to use, in some cases, judicial review, where they can review the constitutionality of laws and the actions of the executive. Okay. We covered judicial branch and what the judicial branch does extensively in the U.S., and then when we get to cover each one of the countries, we'll talk about the specific judicial systems that each of the countries have. Okay, so we're going to move on to bureaucracies. All right, bureaucratic agencies was nobody's favorite topic to cover in U.S. Luckily, what we're going to do is we're not going to talk about the structure of each one of the bureaucracies in the AP6 right now, but we're going to look at what bureaucracies look like in a democracy as opposed to an authoritarian regime. So democracy or bureaucracies in general implement government policy. They're the ones who carry out the laws. Again, like I said, it's not like the president's going to come to your house and collect taxes. The president's going to rely on a bureaucratic agency, the IRS, to do that. In a democracy, your bureaucracy has administrative discretion, which means each bureaucrat has the power to decide how strictly or lenient they're going to enforce the law. In a democracy, bureaucrats are going to keep their job no matter who's in power, which is a huge sense of stability for the government, because there's going to be people in the executive branch that know how to carry out government services and government functions, and you're not going to just get rid of everybody in the bureaucracy every time a new president comes into office. In an authoritarian regime, the head of government is going to have a lot of control over the bureaucracy as opposed to individual bureaucrats having discretion. And you're going to see a patronage system where the president is going to be able to pack the bureaucracy with his loyal supporters. And in our democracy in the U.S., we've replaced a patronage system with a civil service system, meaning that people stay in their job as long as they're qualified for that position. All right, we've gone over Max Weber's characteristics of bureaucracy, so I just want you to quickly list them again. These are non-elected positions. They are supposed to carry out the work of the bureaucratic agency without having personal biases. They're supposed to do it in the most effective manner possible. They are supposed to be qualified for the job. It is a top-down organization with your street-level bureaucrats being able to have some discretion. And it's characterized as having a lot of red tape, a lot of forms, and a lot of paperwork that you have to carry out, to fill out in order to get the bureaucracy to provide you a service. Okay, the last two things that we're going to cover is the military in the state and intelligence communities in a state. Okay, so the military is going to play an important role in all of the countries that we study. Okay, so this is going to be definitely for us in the Hampton Roads area a very part of the notes. The role of the military is to protect the nation from invasion from other countries. It's also there to protect the power within government. So if there is an attempt to overthrow the government, the military is there to protect the government's authority. Intelligence, and also used to protect the power of the nation state beyond its borders by military might or technology. Okay, so the role of the intelligence agencies, all AP6 countries have some kind of domestic and international intelligence agencies. So if you were to look at the US, that would be like the FBI does investigations and collects intelligence in the United States, so domestically, and the CIA does so internationally. Now, in recent times, all countries have expanded their cyber intelligence programs to prevent any kind of cyber hacking or hacking of and disseminating false information during elections, or perhaps hacking large credit score institutions like Equifax, things of the sort. All right, so that is the last of video 3 of topic 5.